Honestly, the only good part of that match was one guy who got sent off, who was a substitute into the game, by the way. So he only played 20 minutes. He had a yellow card. He scored against us. He goes to their fan section, gets a luchador mask to celebrate, and then gets a second yellow and gets sent off.
Welcome to the Vamos Morados podcast on the State of Louisville podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Benton. Zach, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, Benton?
I'm doing well. We obviously missed last week, and that's because I caught the coronavirus.
You caught the coronavirus, and I was not on the ball enough to get a guest host. So
it was tough. It was pretty last minute. Like, it was very not great timing, to the point where I had to miss the Frankfort match, which I'm pretty upset about. But I guess since there was a big weather delay, it was kind of okay. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too mad about that one. But
yeah, and I think, as you would expect, playing a Bundesliga team, it was not a particularly close match.
Yeah, it was never about the score line, though. No, you know, it's just about the celebration of sport. But can't control.
I knew a lot of which I think is what the team is going for. I knew a lot of people at work who have never been to a Louisville City game that went to that. So I think if the goal of that was to get new people in the stadium, I think that from my limited experience, that seems to have been a success.
I think that's totally the case. And you also have to think about it is that there was like 10,200 people there, and that was not part of our season ticket package. All those people like bought in. That's on a Tuesday night. There was rain in the forecast. It's not like this came out of nowhere.
But all in
all, like, I think it's a pretty big success for the club.
Yeah.
So we kind of just dived right into it, didn't we?
Yeah. Hey, wait, you wanna roll it back a little bit? What have you been into this week? I think you have a fun one, right?
Oh, I can't remember it, but I know I had a really good one that I was going to share before I got COVID.
You got the Rona brain fog.
I do. I for the life of me can't remember what it was. I was particularly excited. But anyway, I'm also excited about this one because last night, as of this record, was WWE's SummerSlam event, and it was spectacular. It was so good. I had so much fun watching it. Had it up on one screen, had the Louisville City versus New Mexico match up on the other. I was living my best life last night. It was a good time.
It's fun.
So I won't go into all the details. No spoilers, but it was a lot of like long-term storytelling, like happening, like a lot of it, which is super cool. Fun to see. God bless Triple H.
Very, very wrestling in the weeds for me. I kind of.
Oh no! It very much is like it was very much like it's very rewarding for people who had been following for at least 6 months, at least, for the most part longer. So.
Well, I'm glad you got to watch your big sweaty man stories.
My redneck anime is great. Big fan of it. Zach, what have you been into?
So this week I finally got the last little bits of equipment I needed to start developing color film. I've been doing black and white film for a little bit. I think I mentioned that on here at some point.
Yep.
But I finally got all the stuff, and so this week I started developing some rolls of color film at home for the first time. So that was really fun.
Zach got all these hipster infinity stones.
I know. Well, I mean, and now I can turn around pictures within like 24 hours. So it's almost not quite as convenient as digital photography now.
I cherish it. I'm a big believer in the film. It has a artistic quality you just can't properly replicate. So
yeah, and I just like I like having the negatives. Like I like having a physical object that I've made when I'm done with it. Whereas I feel like taking a lot of digital pictures, they just sort of like go off into the ether. And
when you can shoot rapid fire. You just kind of, I almost loses some value when you're like have to be really deliberate about things. I don't know, something special and artistic about it that
especially like because a lot of the stuff I've been taking has been at the soccer games recently, and I feel like if I got like a nice digital camera and went there, I would have a bunch of pictures that were exactly like everyone else's pictures that are there, and I don't feel like I'd be adding anything of value into the universe. Whereas this is at least different. I'm normally one of the only people there shooting on film, and so at least I have something that's different about mine to offer.
Yeah, no, I get it 1,000%. That's why I like to shoot a little bit. You obviously shoot like way more than I do, but I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I got the hookup for you now, because now you don't have to pay to to get stuff developed anymore.
I mean, like the whole process is kind of expensive. Like,
yeah,
but I enjoyed it.
The chemicals last about 6 months, so it's like now that I've already bought everything, it's basically free for each roll that I do after that.
Yeah, I do need to shoot more. I really haven't shot any this season yet, or much, I should say. So maybe I'll get some out there very soon.
Yeah.
All right. Now we should talk soccer. Now we can circle back and get back to the good stuff.
To the soccer. So a pretty good week, I think. Not the best week we've had. It's not a 6-point week again. It was a 5-point week, which is unusual. That's not a total we normally are able to get.
I'm calling it a good week though, because I mean, when you look at like the value of the competition, or at least in my mind, getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but Louisville City's win was very big, and Racing, I mean, still, I think did well. They ultimately get where they need it to, but at the same time, it's also a very much secondary competition, like regular season, and then off camera here, this competition, in my mind at least. So with that said, like I think it was a pretty good week.
I think
I just don't care about this one
because of your what are we into. I kept wanting to call it SummerSlam. WSL SummerSlam.
That'd be incredible.
But yeah, let's get into it. I figured since we missed last week and didn't have a chance to talk about the North Carolina game, instead of doing like straight up game recaps this week, I thought since they're now eliminated from the competition, maybe we could just talk about competition as a whole, how we feel about how their little midseason break is going so far. Now that they're about halfway through it, they've got the Women's Cup left to play after this. Mm-hmm. So I think two more games guaranteed left in this little midseason break. I guess to recap, they played 3 games in this in the SummerSlam. Came out and got a win against Monterey. Pretty solid. Monterey came out hot. They have a bunch of players who can shoot deep. But like Racing recovered well, controlled the game well, won that. I think kind of the other than hiccup at the start of the game, kind of what you would have expected, I think, given what a lot of people think are the level of play in the various leagues. And then broke our heart against North Carolina. Well, they got points this time, which is a first.
I'd say it's like collective confusion. It reminds me of when Donovan McNabb, when he was with the Eagles and they tied the Bengals, and after the game, he's like, I didn't know you could tie in football. It's kind of like that, where we weren't like all sure of the rules. Like, oh, okay, so
yeah, it's a weird. So we should get into it. This is a very oddly constructed competition. There's a bunch of weird rules in this. I am all for experimenting in like friendly tournaments that don't count, because sometimes you come up against something that's fun. But just to recap, so there are no ties officially in this competition. Games that end in draw go straight. No extra period. They just go straight to a penalty kickoff, and the winner of the penalty kicks gets 2 points, and the loser gets 1 point in the standings. So in this competition, you can get 3 points for a win, or 2 points for coming out ahead in the draw, or 1 point for the draw, which is kind of unusual.
I can't think of another competition like that. I'm sure that it's not the only one that's done this, but I can't think of one.
That's not the weirdest thing, though. The weirdest thing is that there are 5 groups in round robin play. but only 4 teams advance to the knockout stage. And so there will be, I didn't look up who it was, but there will be one group winner that doesn't make it to the knockouts, which is it's a weird way to set the tournament up. I guess they didn't want to have extra games for teams, but the number of teams that they have also divides into 4. So I don't know why they didn't have 4 groups rather than 5 groups, and then you don't have this problem. But then that would have meant 1 extra game for everyone. So yeah. I guess that's the thinking there. But yeah, it's weird. It's like the top 4 teams based on total points advance, which means like you kind of benefit from being in a bad group, and if you're in a competitive group, you're screwed.
Yeah, I don't, again, like I said, like I don't really care that much about secondary competition, so I'm not going to get that worked up over it. And I'm sure there's very logical reasons on why.
If a competition that mattered were set up like this, I'd be pretty furious because not going through the next round after winning your group is pretty lame.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not ideal, but again, I'm sure there were good reasons for it, which we might not ever know all of them, but doesn't matter for us because we didn't make it out anyway. No. But
yeah, second in the group, which like, I mean, it's not terrible, but you would like to advance. I think they played well overall. Like we mentioned, like it's their first time ever getting a point against North Carolina, which I think is an achievement.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
They ended up not winning the penalty kicks there. So there's only 1 point.
Those are coin flips, like
that's tough. But that doesn't really matter. And then also got a draw against Orlando, who is also a really good team this season. So 2 quality draws, but this has been the year of quality draws. So it's like it feels like they're just butting up against the hump over and over again and not making it to the other side. It's sort of the feeling I have at the end of this.
It's not bad, but it's not fine.
There wasn't a step forward, and they're still unable to make that next step.
I mean, you take the shootout out of the equation for the North Carolina match, and I think that's a positive thing to get something against the match against North Carolina, even if it is like a secondary competition and whatnot. So, I mean, there's definitely some positives. Like,
well, and like not all that matchup has some history to it. Orlando, that's probably the better result because, Orlando is on the road against one of the best teams in the league right now. They are in first place in the league right now. So I would say if that were a regular season game, like a draw away at Orlando is a good result.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think positive for me from the competition as a whole, Jordan Bloomer had a really good 2 games, which is nice to see. I think we had probably hoped we would see more players that we haven't seen a lot of than we ended up seeing. The team played kind of the same lineups they have been for the most part. They didn't see a lot of new faces, I think, like we had hoped. But Bloomer got to play 2 games, and I thought did phenomenal. Especially that Orlando game made some really incredible saves to keep them in that.
Yeah, I was pleased with her, and I'm glad that she got some time as well. I know they've thought pretty highly of her, and it's good to know what you have in your backup. And
it's also good. You never know second half or into this season who will have to step up, and to have gotten some game minutes is a big deal. Definitely keeping her fresh, and who knows, maybe Katie Lunt's not shining so bright, and you put her in and see what you got there. Or now kind of what you've got, and it seems less of a gamble. Yeah.
But like you said, though, I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more lineup experimentation.
Yeah,
but we do. There are still 2 more matches to happen, like as we pointed out, with the Women's Cup.
And the thing that I think is most disappointing about that is that we didn't get lineup experimentation, and also didn't get wins in either of those 2 games. So, and North Carolina and Orlando were not playing their normal starting 11s. So that is like a little bit of a concern there. If you're not advancing and getting draws, you would like to maybe at least see some experimentation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They played those games like they wanted to win them, which is good.
And I'm gonna just trust the process, but yeah, I would have liked to see that myself. Maybe they valued the opportunity to get more like competitive minutes with that group together to continue to build cohesion and upon what they're doing. And it's there. I guess there's something to be said about playing the best players. If these players are showing it in training and working hard and whatnot, it can be, I guess, challenging to justify, I'm going to play somebody else for the sake of playing somebody else. So there's arguments for both sides.
Yeah. I guess another plus coming out of this is Ari. We've been steadily seeing more minutes out of her, which I think is a very, very good, bodes well for the last section of this season to have her back. I think that'll be, especially in the attack, that'll be a big deal. I think she helps keep that attack a lot more consistent and has more teeth with her on the field. Her
regular return will be very welcomed, especially when we get back to regular season play.
Yeah, because I think she came out in the second half against in that Orlando game. I think she actually got the start. So that's really good. But yeah, so. And now we move on to the Women's Cup. I think, unlike this one, which was just, it was nice to get to play some actual NWSL teams because that's like good for keeping everybody sort of in the swing of things, and you can really evaluate performance. But Women's Cup, there's not going to be other NWSL teams in it, so I think it's going to be a lot harder to draw conclusions from how they perform in that you could read anything into how the next part of the seasons go. I think it's
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. I don't like. You can assess, I guess, how they're performing in terms of like the style that they're trying to implement, what they're trying to do, because it's it's one thing if the other team can't like keep up with what they're trying to do. Versus like any self-inflicted wounds. One thing I've not been happy about is I feel like they have a lot of soft passes, and it's like those kind of things where you can still kind of glean some insights from. But at the same time, maybe they do get more passes completed because of a lesser team. Who knows? We gotta get them prove we're the better team first off.
Lesser necessarily, but it's just like the play style for all these teams is going to be completely different than the NWSL team. So just because what they're doing works against them doesn't mean that'll translate.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is, I feel like we're at where we've been with this team for most of the season, which is like, it's not overly disappointing, but it's also not getting me jazzed. They just like, they're getting by, and that's just about it.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I guess I'm disproportionately disappointed just because of, I guess, my expectations and hopes and whatnot. So, I mean, that's a lot on me, but I'm pretty bummed. I'm ready to get back to the regular season and see if they can start to move the needle positively, instead of this same old we've gotten pretty much most of the season.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess the four teams that made it to the knockout stage were Gotham, Los Angeles, Kansas City, North Carolina. Just I was not remembering that earlier. So yeah, unfortunately, none of the Mexican League teams made it. It's reverse Champions League.
Yeah, you're right.
The Mexican League teams didn't do terrible though. Because I was keeping up, like a couple of them got wins against the NWSL teams, so it wasn't like everyone bombed out. Yeah, like Club America specifically and Tigres.
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how the two leagues like line up if they get an opportunity when it's not like at a break like this where teams can play like a full squad, because some of the teams were definitely hurt more than others.
Well, and it's their off season right now. It really is reverse Champions League because it's
True.
instead of being in the American League's off season, this one was in the Mexican League's off season.
Oh yeah, like it's such a brutal uphill battle for like an MLS team to make a run in the Champions League.
How many teams are in MX women's? Because only 6 teams came to this competition. That's one of my things. Is like lopsided team entrant wise. There's like 3/4 NWSL teams and 1/4 Liga MS teams. So that sort of makes it weird to have to play mostly NWSL teams.
Yeah, and I mean maybe the NWSL is flexing their muscles when they were putting it together, saying, "Hey, we want our teams to get like."
But I don't know.
During this break.
There might only be 6 teams in the league. Haven't actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that.
Give me the magic of the internet. There are only 6 teams in the league, so that's why.
Okay, that explains it.
Yep. But yeah, it was fun. It was a good idea. It's a really good thing to fill some time during the Olympics.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'd much rather have something than nothing. So
yeah, I would really rather have an actual Champions League at some point.
Yeah, I think
that would require CONCACAF to do something, which I would never bank on.
I think it will. I think it will happen. At the end of the day, it's a money opportunity, and that's what they listen to. Really boils down to that, but it might just take some time.
Yeah. But do you have any more racing thoughts, Benton, before we move on to City?
No, just interesting to see what they do in their final 2 matches of this Olympic break.
Hopefully more than 2.
Would it only be 2, even if they were to lose one of them? Because this is a 4-team tournament, including us, so we would play for opportunity to play in the finals. Or
because it's 2 guaranteed because there we go.
Well, 2 period. You don't play any more than that.
Yeah, so I mean, you play 1, and then there's a losers. There's a winner's game and a loser's game afterwards.
Yep.
So yeah, it's 2 no matter what. I was thinking of it. I'm getting my competitions mixed up.
No, I get you.
But yeah, we'll see how they do in these final 2. But I think this tournament was probably a lot more. I was looking for this more to see how the latter part of the season is going to go, because I don't think we'll learn a whole lot in the Women's Cup.
You're probably right, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
So, but Zach, before we move on and talk about Louisville City, got some news to share. New podcast joining the State of Louisville Podcast Network. It's a Formula One show called Push Push. Do you follow any Formula One?
I understand there are a lot of Formula One fans that are also racing and Louisville City fans.
Yeah, there's just like wrestling. There's an overlap with the fan base there. So this show, Push Push, is brought to you by Shannon Kelsler and Danielle Davis. It's Girlfriend's Guide to Formula One, with weekly episodes previewing and recapping races, discussing major storylines, and the most dramatic. Yeah, it's probably the most dramatic sport.
It's a very dramatic sport. I don't even follow Formula One that closely, but I know there's a lot of drama.
So there's some people that are listening going like, oh yeah, like Formula One's like pretty sick. And there's other people like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't watch cars race around. Let me tell you, I was in that ladder camp for a while. Like, I'm like, I don't get auto sports, period, driving circle out there hanging lefts. Formula One's different. The courses are much more interesting. The races
road courses are way more enjoyable.
Oh yeah,
for me than
I didn't realize that until I saw it. But then also you layer in that Netflix show, which was a 200 IQ play by the F1 people, like in all the drama elements, learning who the people like are and the relationships, and you like just learn how the sport functions. Like if you're not familiar with it, go watch that show and you'll get pretty quickly hooked. Again, like I kind of walked in skeptical, like I'm not a racing person. And then I watched it. I'm like, I'm a huge F1 guy.
Yeah.
I don't get to watch as much as I wish I did, but it is a lot of fun every time I watch it. So I'm very, very interested in checking the show out and keeping more regularly up with it.
One of my favorite genres of YouTube video is like sports YouTubers have an actual pro on to show the orders of magnitude better at anything related to the sport they are than any.
Oh, that was
Joe.
literally the premise of a show on Spike TV back in the day called like Joe's versus Pros.
Yeah, Pros versus Joes. But there was like some motorsports YouTube channel had a Formula 1 driver on and went to a go-kart track and did a time trial on the go-kart track. And it's not like obviously the Formula 1 racer was going to do way better than them, but like go-karts, you floor it and they don't go particularly fast. You would think there's not like a lot extra you could squeeze out of a lap on a go-kart.
No,
Their lap time was like 1 minute and 5 seconds, and the Formula 1 racer did it in 40 seconds.
Yeah, no, I believe it. After I start getting into F1 a bit, like I went out and got like a steering wheel for my computer for like playing the racing games, and I tried the F1 game. Oh my god, it's hard. They make it look so easy. Like hitting those their turns to control, like it is hard.
Yeah, one of the things they pointed out was they showed like the first person view in the cab, and it's how little he used the steering wheel because he would just like initiate the turn, but the steering wheel stayed almost entirely straight through the turns, and he guided the turn with the throttle rather than with the steering wheel. But yeah, so it's just like, man, those drivers are really good.
You'll gain a lot of appreciation for it once you like actually like really like watch it. And the broadcasts are always really well done. Again, the show's good, so make sure you guys check out the show. Push.
But yes, also
Shannon Kelsey and
from Formula 1 racing being interesting. Like I watched through some of their episodes, and the hosts are really fun. It's like a fun perspective on the sport. So everybody should check out Push. Subscribe.
Yep. Check it out on wherever you get your podcast, the YouTube channel at State of Lou. And they're also on Instagram, so you can follow them specifically. F1 Push. And the push thing is in reference to the like in headset audio that you get from the racers when they want them to go. My favorite is when they go box, and they have to like go in the pit.
Yeah, didn't you say you got a flat tire on the highway the other day and we're just yelling box?
I wasn't yelling. You have to do it in a very monotone voice. That's part of it too. And it was around Easter. I got a flat trying to go up to Northern Kentucky for it, and tire instantly went flat. I have the little digital gauge and instantly went to zero. I'm like box. Had to go over the side.
Not fun.
Yep. That wasn't fun, but Formula 1 racing is, and so check out the show. Boom. Ad read.
That was great.
It did. I'm actually
when it's a fun show.
I'm excited to check it out. I didn't realize it was already out, so I'll have to look into that one. But we are a soccer podcast, so we are going to talk about soccer because we haven't got to talk about the very good game yet. That is
a very, very good game. The extremely
important
for playoff standings game.
It was big, and there's probably like some casual like fans or listeners that maybe like that didn't like immediately like click for them when they saw it on the schedule. But I was looking a ways out, and I'm looking at. Well, there's a stretch of games actually that we're in the midst of now, but the first one being this New Mexico one, because for a while they were set to win the regular season. It was still really close, but they had more points than us. They had a better points per game average. That's since changed, but thankfully this was a match in which we could have a direct impact on that. And if memory serves right, remember last year, what was the worst match of last season?
Oh gosh,
this is easy, Zach. It was New Mexico last year.
Yeah,
it was away at New Mexico. We were up 2 players. We were up 2 players and couldn't score on them, and it was just bad all around. And Coach Cruz just drugged the team afterwards. And this might be the opposite of that performance.
Wasn't it like a 2-game road trip where they? Was that in the middle of a 2-game road trip where they got like 8 goals-0 scored on them?
No, you're thinking earlier in the season when we played like Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento.
That was early in the season.
Speaking of the tough stretch they're in, that's who we play next.
Yeah. But it was New Mexico last year. Honestly, the only good part of that match was one guy who got sent off, who was a substitute into the game, by the way. So he only played at 20 minutes. He had a yellow card. He scored against us. He goes to their fan section, gets a luchador mask to celebrate, and then gets a second yellow and gets sent off. Amazing stuff. It was the only time I think I smiled that night. It was so good. But the rest of that was
but we got him back.
We did. Like, again, like it was opposite in so many ways. If you like I mentioned before, last year away at New Mexico, Coach Cruz was not happy with the team. Easy top 5, not him being not happy. This season, he said it was, quote, like one of the matches this season he's most proud of in terms of what the team did. And it doesn't look like that when you look at the scoreline, right? It was a 1-0.
Well, it's a coach's kind of game. We as fans like it when you go out and blow teams out and score a bunch of goals. I think coaches like it when you grit out a tough win.
We can appreciate that too, especially knowing that this is a good opponent, how much it means, and knowing that the team can perform well on the road against good teams. That's a permutation of factors you only get so often in the regular season. So it was a good showing for that. And we got a unique lineup in this one in some regards. Well, one, Kyle Adams came back, which was pretty good. He got thrown right back in the fire. In terms of the match he's in there, like, hey, you're gonna start away in New Mexico after getting a few minutes against Frankfort, and I gotta give credit to Jeff Milby for calling this one. I can't remember if he's done it on air or off air, but he's been talking about playing Jansen Wilson up high in like a winger role, and I said, like, there's other options, but it could totally happen, and it happened, and it worked.
Yep.
It worked. I'm still a Jansen Wilson stan. He is the king. We have going on.
He is the king of cleanup goals.
Hey,
so many of his goals this season, it's a skill, like, to know where to be. Like, he is very good at those secondary runs, getting either like a deflection or a pass coming out of the box.
But let's talk about that goal, because the entire thing was cool. Like, every element of that goal was awesome. Well, first off, it was almost an awesome assist by Aiden McFadden again, just like we got 2 of the last game. He's been on a tear. Sent it to Wilson Harris, who had a great strike. He didn't do much wrong other than the fact that it was within the keeper's reach, which props to the keeper. That was a great save. One-handed, batted it away. But then, Jansen Wilson playing cleanup, and he hit a laser beam into the net. It was great team goal. It was just fun all around. Even the goalkeeper looked pretty good still in that, in conceding there,
Yeah.
He's not gonna be happy about it. But
been on his hair. He's playing good, because I got developing pictures this week. Like, I would say at least 50% of my shots were of him from the last game I was at, because he just had so many runs down the line, sending a cross in. And I was on the side of the field he was on. So, but.
Not like he was ever really bad, but he's just continued to get better and gel more, and just like it's clicking. Things are going real well for him right now.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be a detriment to Jansen's play, but he's worked well. They decided to give him an opportunity playing up the pitch, which apparently he had done in college. I had not realized that, but it also doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
And
he's the player of the match on Pop Mob.
Yeah. But there were other opportunities, but otherwise it was a very gritty game.
Yeah, I think I was trying to think, in the second half they had another, like, the keeper made a really good, like, diving save, and Winder was in the box and just, like, put his hand on his head for like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't remember who took that shot, but yeah, he made their. They had chances. The time they scored was not the only good chance they had.
Oh yeah. But I mean, a lot of the match was defensive for Louisville City. They had like you already pointed out, 30 some odd % possession.
Yeah,
if you look at where the accurate passes were occurring, the bulk of them were in Louisville City's half, like
34-66 on
and it wasn't even
possession.
It wasn't even so much like weathering the storm either. Like they had to play like a pretty defensive battle, and they ended up, despite those numbers, out shooting New Mexico. They out generated in XG.
That's what you want to see, especially with the way they play this season. So 34 to 66% possession, but 11 shots to 8 and 2 big chances to none.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was a great outing. So I totally see why Coach Cruz was very pleased. Like, again, like it sounded like they prepped very well. Like the game played out exactly as they had expected. The guys executing on that. It's one thing to know what's going to happen or to have prepared for what you think is going to happen. It's another thing to actually make that happen, execute upon that. And they did that well, according to the coach. So yeah, a lot to be pleased about there. We didn't get, I wish Adrian Perez was in the mix. I would have liked to see him continue to get a run more of minutes. Because again, like we have a really, we got Sacramento and the Battery coming up, but
I think it's good to just get some rotation there with the games they've got coming up.
Yeah. So, sorry, but I got really excited about it, and so I feel like I've done a lot of the talking. Did you have any thoughts or points on this one?
It's always nice. I got a place in my heart. It's nice to watch the team play on a baseball field. Like things are as they should be when Louisville City's winning on baseball fields.
A baseball field with a healthy crowd.
Yeah.
It's one thing to play at Otto's
none of this Las Vegas stuff. Baseball field with a good crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for New Mexico. If there's any team that deserves a stadium, it's New Mexico.
I often refer to New Mexico as Western Conference Louisville City.
Oh, they totally are. You think of it in terms of like market as well. There's bigger markets around them that are going to get the major league teams. They feel a little passed over. I think Louisville has definitely some of those feelings, and they've embraced their local soccer club, and it's showing. So I want to see them do well to the point where it doesn't hurt us,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, thanks in part to the win, but I think you can say confidently that the whoever wins the league is coming out of the East this season. It looks like it's shaping up. I mean, they're Louisville City's on 47 points right now. New Mexico's first in the West with 38. So
yeah,
like 9 points.
I mean, and Tampa could end higher than New Mexico. They're pretty close.
The top 3 in the East are currently ahead of the top in the West. Yep. So, I mean, things are shaping up really good for the last part of this season. I think it's going to be a tough competition for that top spot in the East. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we've already said, Sacramento's second in the West. That's who's up next. And then after that, Charleston Battery, they need no introduction. You get 2 the wins out of both of those. We're sitting real pretty.
Huge.
We're sitting real good. Yeah. That would be so big.
This is
obviously the bigger one is going to be the Battery, but I mean, there's still a lot on the line for the Sacramento match. Get every point that you can, especially against those teams that could dethrone you. I mean, Sacramento's not out of the picture. A little bit of a stretch maybe, but they're a threat. We got to take care of that. I'm excited. That was a big win.
Yeah, it was huge. This is what they needed.
Big. Yeah, it was real big. So back home for Sacramento, thankfully, and then also for
9 o'clock kickoff. Kind of unusual. We don't get a lot of 9 o'clock games.
Maybe it's because Sacramento, I feel like they draw a good number of fans, and so they're trying to cater for them a little bit as well with the timing.
For the West Coast time zone,
yeah,
makes sense.
Speculating, but that's what I would do if I were.
Could also be we're in the heat of the summer, so that gets you past the heat a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's tougher though, especially with school won't have started yet, but it's still later, and that can be, I guess, more challenging for families and whatnot. I don't think it's wouldn't move any sort of.
Chuck's not going to be at that.
That's significant.
Go ahead and throw that out there. This 9 o'clock kickoffs are not for Charlotte.
Chuck is already scratched.
She already reminds me every time we're there that there's not a playground anymore. There is a TV now. I don't think we brought this up on the podcast. I think I got my monkey polish. So they did add a TV to the van zone, but they've taken out the playground. So the reason I needed the TV is no longer there.
Insert your Curb Your Enthusiasm music. No, I guess you're getting it back next year. That's what I thought I heard at least.
Theoretically, when it went out, they talked as if it would be coming back. So I assume it's coming back. I've not seen any. They sort of framed it like it was getting taken out for a little bit and then coming right back, and then it just hasn't coming back. So I would expect it comes back at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to burst your bubble. I don't know that the playground's the highest priority item that they're probably dealing with right now. So, but I'm hopeful for an off-season installation, maybe get that off-season signing, new swing set.
Yeah, I think from what we heard, they had a bunch of weather issues right after they took it out that sort of delayed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
but the screen's up. So that's good. It's one less thing for me to complain about the stadium now.
Be thankful for what you have, Zach.
That's a loser mentality. Winners get better. Yeah. You think Chris Cruz is thankful for what they have?
I think he's very thankful for what he's got. I mean, does it get much better in this league than being the coach of Louisville City?
I don't think the team rolls in on a lot of. I don't know. I think they probably have Mondays off, so I don't think they roll in a lot of Tuesday meetings. Like, yeah, man, just keep doing it. It looks good.
Oh no, he definitely doesn't have that. But you can be grinding and be real locked in, and also very thankful at the same time.
Yeah, my grind is a playground that I can watch games from. That's what I'm grinding towards.
All right, I'm not egging you on this anymore. Zach, is there anything else that we did not talk about that you wish to talk about that it's not about a playground?
Nope. I think 5-point week, which is that's fun. Looking forward to getting
5-point week in 2 games. How weird.
Games in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're sitting. I mean, Louisville City's sitting really good. I think racing's still very much in it for this last part of the season, so it's gearing up good. I want some good long playoff runs from both teams this year.
Yep. Same here. And apologize for our listeners that we missed last week because of my my COVID diagnosis. I promise it wasn't fun. I'm not happy about it.
Blame our frail human bodies.
Yeah. Bad timing. Yep, bad timing. Working out has sucked since because I was deloading in that week prior, and then I get COVID, and so basically didn't work out for a week, and accidental long break. So
does working out ever not suck for you? Because
when I'm in it, no.
This might just be me, but working out always sucks.
When you get in that routine, like I think it's good, but I deload it, and then I was trying to go back up on the weights, and I had not been working out, and it's just like that was like more strenuous than normal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel this week this whole week's going to be like that.
I should probably deload at some point. That's probably my problem.
Yeah, we can talk about that offline, but you should. Make sure you guys listen to Push. Again, they're on Instagram. F1 Push.
Listen to Push. Eat at Kern's Corner.
That too.
Support
yes.
Stay Louisville. Listen to all the other podcasts.
They got a lot of good stuff there. You guys got to check it out. And we're thankful for them helping us out in putting us on the air, on the interwebs.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. And thank you guys for tuning in and helping making it happen. Yeah, because if nobody subscribed, then what would we be doing?
Probably this, but without it recording.
Probably still be doing it, yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you all again. Talk to you next week. Vamos Morados.
Bye, y'all.